Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're brand new here, then I do welcome you to the second episode of the channel. And for today, we'll be discussing this Xeric timepiece. This is known as the Xeric Xeriscope, reference XS3014. We'll be going over some of the highlights of this timepiece, going over some of the features that it has. It is a pretty interesting watch and it does look pretty chaotic, but we'll be sure to kind of dive into it and try to understand what's going on with the dial. So for today's wristwatch check, I am wearing the newest acquisition. This is a Seiko Marvel, reference 14021 from 1957. I sadly won't be keeping this timepiece for too long. It's going off to a dear friend of mine for his graduation gift. So I hope you do enjoy it. But for today, let's jump into this Xeric and start checking it out. So, let's get into it right now and kind of go over some of the details about this particular timepiece. So, the movement inside of this, Xeric is calling it the PTS ST201. It's a 3 Hz movement, so you're looking at about 6 beats per second at about a 21,600 beats per hour rate on the timepiece. It does have about 48 hours of power reserve, so thankfully you do have just about 2 days of the watch being able to hold a charge and keep it running. There is a bit of discrepancy though online and even with the watch itself about the water resistance rating. On the back of the watch that we'll kind of see shortly, it says 50 meters and online it says about 5 ATM, which is the same, but it also says online that the watch has 10 ATM, so it kind of doubles right there. So this particular timepiece I wouldn't recommend taking near the water. I would hold it closer to that 50 meters of water resistance to be on the safer side. But the watch does have an exhibition case back, though the front and the back do have K1 mineral crystals for the protecting of the dial and of the case back as well. The extras that this watch has are GMT, so second time zone that you might be able to already see right there, a power reserve at about the 10-11 o'clock, and it also has an open work to the dial as well. The watch thankfully is hand winding and it does have a rotor in the back, so it is an automatic movement, so you can be able to wear it and kind of forget it in a way. To go over the dimensions of the watch though, you'll be able to see that right here on the lug to lug for the timepiece. It wears pretty large at about 54 millimeters on the watch. The actual case size itself is roughly about 44 millimeters. Across the watch, including the crown, you'll be looking at about 48 millimeters. So again, it is kind of a larger watch. The span of the lugs, we'll be looking at about 22 millimeter lug width, and then the thickness of the timepiece is about 13 millimeters. So if you weren't already able to kind of figure out the dial, I'll go over it right now. And it is a little odd, and it is not going to be to everyone's taste, but that's okay because it is a pretty large watch, so it might be even considered a statement piece for some collectors. So the first thing that probably grab your attention is the open work to the dial. So there you'll be able to see the balance wheel and some of the inner workings of the timepiece, where it does have some decoration down on the sort of base plate of the watch. But that is for the central hours that you'll have. So right now we'll be reading at about 11 o'clock on the timepiece. So as you can be able to see, the large triangle is pointing to 11, and just above that you'll see those two circles, those kind of almost brigade style but not quite, hands there, which will be for the minutes. And if you look off to the right side at about the 2 o'clock position, you'll see that it is a GMT, so a dual time on there. You can be able to set it if you like, or kind of leave it as it is, keep it with the home time zone if you like. But you can also see the power reserve off to the 10-11 o'clock right there as well. So it is a hand winding. Once again, if you look right here on the power reserve, you'll see The hand winding is kind of loud. Let me see if I can put it up to camera. You can be able to hear it. So it is kind of a louder hand winding sound to it, but if that's okay with you, then so be it. So you can be able to see, you can be able to pull out the crown here, and let's kind of rotate the time. Now, as you might notice right away, that's actually one issue I want to bring up. Sometimes the crown won't go into position properly, and as you can be able to see, it will snap the minutes hand back, which is kind of strange. But to kind of do that, kind of move the crown up a little bit. It's doing it again. There it goes. Now it's caught. So that's one thing to be aware of if you are interested in the timepiece. But you might notice, as I was saying, the watch does not go forward. Instead, it goes backward in time, which is kind of strange, I'll admit, and a little odd, but it does stop the seconds from running. So in a way, it's almost like it has hacking, but you have to put it backwards and change the time if you want to get the seconds hand or the seconds to stop. But so you can be able to see it's got a nice movement to it. The feel is well in the crown, but as you can also be able to see, the dual time zone right there is also moving. Now, you don't have to keep it exactly on that time. If you want to change the time zone for the dual time, you just rotate it the other way. You can be able to see it's changing right there. So it's up to you on how you want to use the dual time on the watch, but for setting the time, we'll set it to this. And once you put it into place, there's one thing you have to be aware of, and I find it to be a little strange as well. If you move the crown like that, if you just noticed, the minute hand snaps into place. Let me try to do it again, so if you missed it the first time. So watch where the 35 is. Now it snaps to about 39, and the balance wheel starts running again. So the watch has some quirks to it. I'm not sure if it's meant to be like that by design, but that's the way that this particular watch is. And again, it is a little strange, but thankfully it hasn't had any issues from any of that, at least not that I've been able to notice. So as you can be able to see, there is quite a bit on the dial, but once you sort of get the hang of it, you could be able to read the time relatively quickly. Not super fast, but it is a bit of a odd timepiece once again. There is some nice decoration though that's on the dial. It is very interesting. As you can be able to kind of see, it's got some almost a sunburst like design radiating out from the minute hand, and it's got a design around here as well that you can be able to see. So it is kind of interesting. The crown is signed, so it has the Xeric logo there. So you can also see with the difference in polish, and you have a high polish here on the bezel, and then off the sides you have a brushed, and then down below you do have that high polished once again. One other thing that you might notice right away is that the watch does not have pins, or doesn't have any pins to it. These are screw-ins, so if you do want to try to change out the strap, you'd have to unscrew the strap onto it, which is kind of nice. It does keep it a bit more secure than a pin would, but that is one feature to it. You can be able to see the buckle as well. It actually has a good weight to it, surprisingly. I'm actually kind of impressed by that. So it does feel pretty nice when you do put it on, and it does again have some weight to it. But as you can be able to see on the back right here, as I stated earlier, that discrepancy between 5 ATM and 10 ATM on their website, so be cautious of that. But as you can be able to see here, the watch does have some okay decoration. It's not going to win any awards anytime soon, and it does have a rotor that you can be able to see. It does have once again, okay decoration. You kind of have this Côte de Genève decoration here, and then some other workings to the movement as well. Blued screws, but I do not believe they are heat blued. I think that they are painted on as blue, so be aware of that. But you can be able to see there is no balance wheel to the back because that's on the front. But if you do ever want to wind the watch, you can be able to kind of see when you do the hand winding the gear train moving. So if you are interested in kind of seeing that, this is an okay timepiece to do that for. But once again, there you can be able to see it off the sides. So let's get a check on how it looks to the wrist. Put that sacred there. You can be able to kind of see the difference in sizes there from one era to the next. The idea of a possible dress watch or just a watch in general, you can be able to see two totally different sizes. But to get this Xeric on real quick, here it is. So my wrist is about 7.5 inches, not too big, not too small either, but as you can be able to tell, the watch is pretty large on the wrist. This definitely isn't one of those timepieces that if you want to kind of make it look quiet and not seen, this isn't kind of one of those timepieces you can be able to do that with. It is a pretty interesting watch though, and if you like it, you like it, but if you don't, you do not. So it does have that polarization to it. But you can be able to kind of see with the lugs, they do curve down just a little bit, but sadly, at least for my wrist, there is a bit of overhang, unfortunately. But let me know what you guys think about this watch. Again, it is a polarizing timepiece, so there is going to be people who like it, there will be people who hate it. But because it is a watch, it does have those two camps that you can be able to subscribe to. But I do thank you very much for checking this out. Again, please leave a comment if you like it or not. I'd love to see it and kind of hear opinions about it. Stick around for the next one. There'll be more to come, and I do thank you very much for checking it out. Take care.